As I was reading this gospel, I was trying to picture what was happening in this scenario. Think about what was happening. So Jesus goes to this dinner. Have you ever had this feeling when you have been invited to a lunch or a dinner and you know that everybody's looking at you, how you speak, how you are dressed, how your hairstyle looks like, and really everybody's paying attention to all the details about how you look like? That's what was going on with Jesus. He knew exactly that everybody was paying attention to see if he would say something against the law, to see if he would make a mistake. And so Jesus took this as an opportunity to teach about humility. And not only that, but after he finished teaching about humility, he turned to the host and told him, and you, by the way, when you invite people to a dinner, make sure that you invite those who are not able to repay you. Now imagine as a host, how the host felt. I was wondering if he wanted to invite Jesus back to a dinner. Probably not, right? Maybe he felt offended. Who knows? But anyway, in this gospel, Jesus is teaching us about pride and about humility. And what is pride? Pride is to have a false notion of who we are. That's what it means. Put simply, pride is to have a false notion of who we are. And I think that that is the greatest sin that we are guilty of in our society. People think, this is how they think, I don't need God. I am God myself. I don't need to worship a God because I am God. And so the sin of pride can be seen everywhere. So how we can grow in the virtue of humility? I think it is very important to develop an attitude of gratitude. Because when we are grateful, we acknowledge that every gift, everything comes from the source of all goodness, who is God. But also, we are who we are thanks to other people. Just think about the fact that in the 21st century, we have faith in Jesus Christ. How many people in the first century, how many people had to give up their lives for the name of Christ in order to pass down their faith to the future generations, and we benefit from them being witnesses of the faith? So we have to be grateful for all the gifts that we have received in life. So the first step, I think, is to grow in this attitude of being grateful, to give thanks to the Lord for all that we have received, for all that we receive every day. And then when we are grateful, that leads to humility, because when we acknowledge that everything is a gift from the Lord, then we're humble. And the word humility comes from the Latin word humus. Humus means ground, dirt. That's what it means. So to be humble means to be grounded in reality, to know who we are and to know who we are not. We know what our gifts are, we know what our abilities are, and we know that we're not so good at everything, and we're okay with that. We acknowledge that we cannot be good at everything, and we're okay with that. That's humility. That means to be grounded in reality. And so when somebody's humble, that leads to the person to serve other people, to find opportunities. If we acknowledge that everything, our intellectual capacity, the ability to speak different languages, everything comes from the Lord, then we can serve the people around us in gratitude, because we want to share our gifts with the people around us. When I was in the second year of theology in the seminary, I was introduced to Father Solanus Casey. Father Solanus is a blessed now. He will be a saint soon. So Father Solanus Casey, when he was 26 years old, he felt the calling to be a priest. So he went to the seminary in Detroit, and he struggled because classes were taught in German and Latin. And so he was kicked out of the seminary. Then he went back to the seminary. He was kicked out the second time. But one time he was praying a novena to the Blessed Mother, and he heard the voice from the Blessed Mother telling him to go to the Capuchins, to the friars. And so he obeyed that voice. He went to the Capuchins, and there he struggled also. He had such a hard time with the academics. But then the formators noticed that Solanus was a very devout man. He was very pious. And so they decided to ordain him as a priest, but under one condition, that he would not be able to hear confessions or to preach. Now, imagine that. I was in the seminary for 8 years. If they had asked me that they would ordain me as a priest, I would have probably said no. But Father Solanus Casey, because he was so humble, he said it's okay. So he was ordained as a simplex priest, meaning that he was not able to hear confessions nor preach in public. So the first assignment, he was sent over to Yonkers in New York, and his main job was to be the sacristan. Imagine a priest being a sacristan. There's nothing wrong with that, but as a priest, there's things that only a priest is able to do. So when he was in Yonkers, he was in charge of the altar servers, and there he taught them how to be pious, how to have a devotion to the Blessed Mother. Later, he was transferred to St. Bonaventure Monastery in Detroit, and there his main job was to be the porter, the doorkeeper. That's what he did every day. He opened the door at the monastery, but people would come to Father Solanus seeking counsel. He had so many gifts of healing. He would tell people things about the future. He would pray over people. They would get healed. People started to come from all over the U.S. There were lines of people waiting to have a short time with Father Solanus Casey. And that's all he did. Because he was humble, he was grounded in reality, and because of that, he was able to be an instrument of God where he was at. When he died, there were like 20,000 people at the funeral because, again, of his humility. Because he was able to be humble, because even the gospel tells us, remember, that whoever humbles himself will be exalted, and whoever exalts himself will be humble. So that's how we grow in humility, to be grateful, to grow in to be grateful, to be grounded in reality about who we are by serving other people, and that way we become really instruments of God. No matter what we do, it may be something very simple that nobody sees, but if we do it with love, we can be sanctified there. We can grow in holiness because God knows that whatever we do it out of love.